Minisforum's AI X1 Pro is a nice Mac Mini clone for the PC market, and it's back for another round with an AMD CPU update. Just how close is it to a previous Mac Mini design? It's just taller with a larger bottom plastic section and comes with a stand to be placed vertically, although you can use it placed on a desk as well. Wow. And while it's a bigger than usual mini PC, it comes packed with more features. Inside the updated A1 X1 Pro is AMD's Ryzen AI9 HX470, 12 cores, 24 threads, and Radeon 890M graphics. If that sounds familiar to the last one, it is. The HX470 is a refresh of the HX370 with some clock speed bumps. This mini has an inbuilt power supply, so it comes with a power cord. Also included is a HDMI cable, spare M.2 thermal pad and heatsink, monitor mount, and of course, the vertical stand. The front of the AI X1 Pro has a couple of USB 3 10GB ports, USB 4, which does not support USB-C PD, audio jack, and Windows Copilot button. On top of it is a fingerprint sensor for Windows Hello support. The right side has an SD card reader. Inside it is a MediaTek Wi-Fi 7 chip for wireless and Bluetooth. The back has USB 2, OCulink, USB 4, which does support USB-C power delivery, DisplayPort, HDMI, dual Realtek 2.5GB LAN, and CMOS reset. Finally, a microphone and speaker is included, neither of which are very good, just passable for conference calls or listening to podcasts or something. I don't know, I think good audio quality is important, so I won't use them. Minisforum sells the AI X1 Pro as a barebones and pre-build option. The barebones price is more reasonable at around $720 US, but the pre-build at $1,300 is not cheap. Opening up the AI X1 Pro is a bit of work. There are 4 exposed screws, but for some reason there's another one hidden under a glued-on sticker, which is a pain to remove. The bottom casing uses plastic clips to latch onto the case. After those are dislodged, there are a bunch of screws to remove from the cooling plate. Watch out for the cables, and finally, we have access to the memory and storage. Unfortunately, once again, Minisforum has gone with a single 32GB RAM stick configuration. Oh, I asked why with the previous Mini, but didn't get a response. Anyway, it's going to tank performance. This is one of few units to feature 3 M.2 slots. 2 of them are Gen 4 X4, while the third one is a Gen 4 X1. Windows 11 Pro is bundled with a pre-build, and a malware and rootkit scan came up clean. The latest version of Ubuntu was tested, and it worked fine. Moving on to the benchmarks. We've already looked at a mini PC with HX470, so there's the comparison point. And that video has the comparison against the HX370, so check out that one. Since the AI X1 Pro only came with 1 stick of RAM, but has 2 performance modes, I tested its out-of-box configuration, and for the performance mode, I added a 32GB RAM kit so you can see the difference. Finally, all tests were done using the vertical stand. The Mini in Cinebench performs pretty much as expected. Performance mode and dual channel memory made no difference in this benchmark. Multi-core performance is good out of the box, while increasing the power limit in the BIOS has it taking the top spot. The Geekbench 6 single-core benchmark is affected by memory speed, and there's a slight drop for the AI X1 Pro, but with the performance mode and better RAM configuration, it came out ahead against the Sur-10 Max. Geekbench multi-core performance is dismal out of the box, matching a Core Ultra 5 125H. Depressing. However, the biggest surprise is that after the tweaks, it's still underperformed in this benchmark, trailing the HX370 minis, let alone the HX470 we looked at previously. Oh. The out-of-box performance in H.264 video encoding is also embarrassing, getting beaten by far cheaper mini PCs. Fix the configuration and it performs as it should. Switching to the longer AV1 codec test and the result is much better, but even with performance mode and dual channel memory, it trails the other HX470 mini. Next up, we do the same encode and let the iGPU do the heavy lifting. This slashes encoding time, but again is a bad result out of the box. Even with a performance mode and RAM switch, the time to encode is still substantially worse than the other HX470. Moving on to Geekbench AI CPU. For this chart, we take the best results of each mini PC. In this case, the AI X1 Pro does a bit worse than the other HX470 Mini. And in Geekbench AI GPU, we see something similar. I have to say, nothing really quite hits like muted iGPU performance thanks to a single stick of RAM. The graphics benchmark score is horrible out of the box in Firestrike, getting beaten by a 7640HS. After switching to a kit of RAM, it shoots up to near the top of the chart. Unsurprisingly, we see the same thing in Temps. And finally, Steel Nomad Lite. So if you get a unit with a single RAM stick, you're in for a poor performing box, at least for the dollars you're paying for it. And that goes to show that no matter the RAM size, any pre-built mini PC using integrated graphics should always come with a kit. No exceptions. Let's hammer it home with a gaming workload as an example. Here's the difference between the default configuration and 2 RAM sticks. The rest of the games are shown with 2 sticks, so you can see what this chip can actually do.
To the vanguard! The plan comes together.
I appreciate this, truly. Dogtown's main gate. Be there as soon as you can. I'll make contact again then.
Commander, Abara and I will secure the building down here, while you're upstairs restoring power to the door.
RAM will be less of a bottleneck if using an external graphics card, and here's a look at the difference between using USB 4 and OCulink interfaces with an eGPU. Alright, back to the charts. For compiling code, the HX470 is one of the best mobile CPUs out there, if using a kit of RAM. Adobe Photoshop performance gets hit hard out of the box. Although even maxed out, it's not as good as the other HX470 mini PC. Adobe Premiere has poor performance as well, but maxed out, it impresses. Next is the SSD benchmark. The included Kingston drive may be Gen 4, but it's not fast when tested with a storage benchmark, getting beaten by many others. The drive temp is okay, but the controller got hot when I put it through a constant thrashing. Bluetooth range is excellent, matching the best units we've tested. No surprise that wireless was also good at 12 meters or 39 feet from the router using the 5G band. Idle power draw is excellent at just 7 watts, and the maximum depends on the power mode, an extra 10 watts or so for using performance. CPU temp holds up really well, and there's an extra 5 degrees Celsius when using performance mode. Fan noise is okay, but not impressive. Out of box, it's around average, and performance mode adds more noise. Comparatively, this is a large mini PC and not as portable as most of the units on the list. Mashing the delete key on startup lets you access the BIOS. In advanced is the power limit setting. Onboard devices setting has a RAID option. ACPI has Wake on LAN. Hardware monitor allows you to change the fan curve. AMD CBS MBIO common options has the graphics config for the VRAM limit. While FCH common options contains the power loss option. SMU common options allows setting the power limit manually. Pretty much everything people ask for. Okay, mini PC checklist time. The top of the case is metal and the build quality is fine. Pricing depends on what you buy. The bare bones option is not too bad for what you get, but the pre-build with likely 1 stick of RAM is pricey. A compact built-in power supply is included, Whether that's a deal breaker depends on what you're looking for, convenience or easy replacement. The AI X1 Pro has plenty of other features as well. Opening it to get to the RAM and SSD is a chore with lots of screws. My unit came with only one 32GB RAM stick, which is not good. This is one of those rare minis that has 3 NVMe slots. Performance out of the box with 1 stick of RAM is poor. With 2, it's much better, but didn't hold up as well as the Beelink Sur-10 Max. Cooling overall is good, though the SSD controller temp was higher than expected. Bluetooth and wireless range are great, while fan noise isn't bad. Minisforum does offer BIOS updates, driver downloads, and a longer 2-year warranty than the standard 12 months. Overall, the AI X1 Pro is still a good mini PC with plenty of features. AMD's refreshed HX470 CPU doesn't add much over the HX370, and since the previous model is cheaper, I'd go with that one if you're keen on this model. If you need something with OCulink that's not quite as powerful but lower priced, then check out my review of the Minisforum UM880 Plus right here. Cheers!